Hey all, Kurt Sasso here from TGT Webcomics. We're here at Kids Read Comics. We're here with Raina. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You know, this is a great event, full of energy, full of life, you know, and kids running around looking at comics. What else could you have here? But let's talk about you here. You know, you're an extremely talented artist and author. You know, you've done Smile, you've done the BabySitters Club. You know, why did you want to do comics though?
I really love to read comics, and reading them and falling in love with them that way made me want to make them too. So when I was a kid, I just started trying to write and draw my own comics, and I was trying to draw comic strips at first because I really grew up reading comic strips in the newspapers. That wasn't quite the right fit for me though. I found that I was more comfortable telling book-oriented stories, and here we are.
Well, let's talk about first off. Talk about the BabySitters Club here. You know, it's a great story for the younger generation. You know, their first job usually is babysitting in general.
That's true. Well, that came about because the editors at Scholastic wanted to work with me, but they weren't quite sure what project would be right for me. And this was a series that I read when I was a kid. The novels were really popular in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, and so I had read maybe not 100, but close to that of the original volumes. And when they found out I had been a fan, they said perhaps it would be a good idea for me to try an adaptation of the series. So I spent the next 4 years adapting and illustrating 4 of the BabySitters Club titles, and it was kind of like the best job I never knew I wanted, but apparently it was always meant to be.
And of course, your newest book here is called Smile. I mean, you know, I haven't heard too much about it, but I heard there's a lot of buzz about it. You know, tell us about Smile.
Smile is actually a personal story. It's a true story of how I knocked out my 2 front teeth when I was 11 years old, and then I had to spend the next 4.5 years of my life getting braces and headgear and fake teeth put in and all sorts of crazy things to reconstruct my mouth. And when you're in middle school, it's a really sensitive time, even if you look completely normal. So having this strange mouth made me feel like I was the target of a lot of teasing and a lot of bullying. And whether that was true or not, that was my perception of it. And so I really tried to write a story about the emotions that took place at that time in my life, but kind of just show that you can get through something like that and you can come out on top of it. You don't have to let other people get you down.
That's a great inspiration, especially for kids these days, because you know there's so many, you hear in the news so much about bullying, about all this other stuff, and it's really tough to hear, but that's the truth, unfortunately. And if they can use this book as you know, you don't have to be afraid of being different or being something that you know is not the status quo or the normal thing of your local middle school or high school. You know, you have friends, and that's the main thing. You have to make do with what you have, and really, I'm glad to see this book.
Thanks.
You know, all the kids that have come up here, though, you know, you have wonderful, amazing, beautiful artwork here that really draws people in. The great background here too. But you know, for the kids that come up to you and say, you know, I really love your artwork. What can I do to be as good as you, or what can I do to maybe get into this industry?
Well, I always tell them just to keep practicing, and I remind them that I'm a little bit older than they are, and that when I was younger, my work didn't look anywhere near the way I wanted it to look, and I just kept at it. But that even if they perceive their work as not being perfect, it probably looks pretty good to other people. We all have, you know, faults that we can see with our own work, and I look at my own work and I think, oh, this is terrible, but yet kids will say, how do you make a picture look so perfect? It's like, oh, that's just your perception of it. It's not mine. Keep at it. Don't stop working. Keep writing, keep drawing. If you love to do it, do it. Don't let anyone stop you.
That's a good idea and a good call too. I mean, you know, you have to have passion in what you do, or else what's the point of really doing it, truly? You know, for those that, you know, don't really know too much about you, though, what comics did you read as a kid?
I was a really big fan of Calvin and Hobbes, and For Better or For Worse was my other favorite comic strip. I liked single gag panel comic strips like Dennis the Menace and The Far Side and Bizarro. I also love manga, and I started reading manga in probably about 1987. Yeah, when the first couple of books were being translated and brought over, I was reading those. I really like historical comics, so books like Mouse appeal to me just because I think it's interesting to read about other people's life experiences. As for what I'm inspired by now, there's a lot of good comics in the marketplace now that are suitable for kids. Like there's a book called Yotsuba, which is a manga about a 5-year-old girl with green hair, and she's really funny and she's really weird, and it's really fun to read her stories. So, there are a lot more comics now that are available than there were when I was young, so I'm so excited by that.
I don't know if you get this asked, but if you ever want to collaborate with someone, or someone that you really admire, or really, who would that be?
Well, I've already done it. I mean, I got to work with Anna Martin, who's the author of the BabySitters Club series, and she was probably my favorite writer when I was about 9 and 10 years old. And so the fact that was my first professional project was working with her and having her give me feedback on my work was amazing.
That's great.
I don't know if I could top that.
Well, that's true. I mean, everyone has their heroes, and I'm glad. Hey, that's an achievement right there. First time out of the gate, and you're working with an amazing writer in this. Well, kids read comics. Eventually, it's going to close down, though. But what personal experiences are you going to take away from it?
I just love meeting people. I love meeting the people that come to this kind of event and all the families that are here, and especially the younger kids who are just learning to read or just getting into comics. Like, there's so much for them, so it's really cool to be able to introduce them to new things.
That's great. Well, what's the website then for some of your works that we can get people to go to?
Everything's on goraina.com. It's GORAINA.com.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful interview. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your event here, and good luck with everything in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.